Is in pursuit of a stolen car right now. This is on the 110 South. You can see there those cruisers right behind that dark colored SUV. This happened just a short time ago. Again, what we are learning is that this vehicle has been stolen. We are still getting details right now, but you can see this happening here along the 110. And of course, at 10 minutes to 1 in the afternoon, this highway is wide open and this driver is not slowing down. We have been watching this here for some time. Sky 9 up above, and they are under that overpass there. So we are blocked right now temporarily, but we are trying to give you a better look of this pursuit right now. But again, LAPD chasing this driver who is wanted for grand theft auto. Again, this is in South LA, going under that underpass. There we go. We can see it again. You can see a number of cruisers, at least 7 that I can see from this vantage point after that dark colored SUV that was stolen. We are still waiting for more information about exactly how this car was taken. And we are joined now on the phone by Darren Wyatt, who is also watching this along with us. Darren, we appreciate you joining us. We are watching and still trying to get more information about this SUV that officers are after right now. Doesn't seem to be going too fast. We do not have that mileage on our screen right now, but I just saw another car go past. So it doesn't look like they're going extremely fast, but of course this driver is refusing to pull over.
Yeah, hi, Amy. The speeds don't seem too fast, and it doesn't seem to be erratic driving. But from what we've been told, this is a stolen vehicle, and that the driver is armed. I see at least 5 patrol units there with it, and the helicopters overhead as well. So the question is, was this just a stolen vehicle, or was it a carjacking? And we don't really have that information yet. But officers are going to maintain this pursuit until it comes to a conclusion, however that may end.
And I have to imagine that everyone is heightened when you know that someone is armed in the vehicle that you're chasing.
Yeah, absolutely, and that will impact the tactics they use in trying to terminate the pursuit. When you know that you're dealing with an armed suspect, armed with a firearm, you're most likely not going to engage in a pursuit intervention technique where we see them spin the vehicle out. That could, force a lethal confrontation. So they'll probably just continue to follow it until the driver yields and gives up.
And we know that typically you all prefer that driver be on a highway because there is a little less danger for people that are on these side streets. As I say this, of course, I am watching this driver get off of the 110 and now making their way to surface streets. And of course, so many extra issues come up with that because you've got so many unsuspecting people on the roadway there. No idea that this car is coming barreling through the neighborhood. You've got pedestrians. So often we see them running stop signs and stop lights, so certainly things get worse once you're off that highway.
Yeah, it does, especially if the drivers continue at high rates of speed and going on the wrong side of traffic, running red lights, et cetera. It does increase the danger exponentially, not only for the public, but also for the officers. And here we see as he exited, the officer having to slow down and wait for a vehicle to yield to him. The other thing, too, is that sometimes on these city streets, when the speeds get in excess of even 45, 50 miles an hour, the officers will be outrunning their sirens. So they'll be coming up behind other motorists that won't hear them as quickly as you would like, which increases the danger as well. And like we see, this person is going on the wrong side of the road to get around a truck and all kinds of things. Hopefully we're not seeing the speeds too excessive and haven't seen red light violations, et cetera, yet, but we'll just see how it continues on these surface streets. But with these slower speeds on surface streets, you would anticipate if he wasn't armed, you would most likely have seen an attempt to do a pit maneuver there. But I think that with that belief or knowledge that he's armed, they're probably refraining from doing so.
So you wouldn't do a pit maneuver, but what about the spike strips? Is that still not an option when you know someone is armed?
No, it could potentially be an option to use spike strips. However, when you're on city streets, there's much less opportunity to deploy those without interfering with other traffic. Because it's just too difficult to stop traffic and keep them out of the area to prevent unsuspecting motorists from driving over the spike strips as well. So it's really got to be pre-planned. And at this time of day on city streets, it's much more difficult to do that.
Yeah, and we're watching this driver who is going around the traffic there and through the intersection. And of course, this is always when it's so dangerous when they go through an intersection, perhaps on a red light. And the good thing here is that this driver does not appear to be driving too fast, at least at this point. Darren, have you heard at all if there are other people in this SUV?
I have not. We did see that driver sticking his arm out the window there a minute ago, and it almost looked like he had his cell phone in his hand. Not sure what that was about, but certainly we know that we have at least one person there, but we can't see through those windows to see if there's other occupants in the vehicle or not.
And you've got those dark windows, and I'm sure that certainly makes things a little more dangerous for officers that are there trying to stop this vehicle, because you don't know who's got the gun, how many weapons there might be in that vehicle as they are trying to get this vehicle to pull over.
Correct, yeah. And fortunately, we're not seeing a lot of heavy traffic and not seeing those excessive speeds and erratic driving that we see in a lot of situations. So this has somewhat been kind of calm, in comparison to some of the other pursuits that we've seen in the last several weeks. But again, still very, very dangerous for the unsuspected public who's out there. And
now, we don't always know that someone inside the vehicle has a weapon, but so often you all just treat the situation as though someone in the vehicle is armed, even if you haven't been told. But in this case, we do know that at least one weapon has been seen.
Correct, and we don't know where that information came from, if it was from a victim who was a victim of a carjacking, or if it was somebody who knows, maybe there was the person the vehicle was stolen from has said that there was a vehicle there. But again, you see the driver with his arm out the window, the left arm out the window. It looks like with the cell phone out there, almost wondering if he's trying to videotape what he's doing. And I don't know if sometimes these people stream their activities live on social media. We don't know what's going on, but we've seen it several times now where the suspect has put his arm out the window with the cell phone in his hand.
And Darren, so often, you all are trying to stop this vehicle sooner rather than later because they are putting so many people at risk. But because this driver seems to be, not driving overly fast, not overly reckless, will officers just pretty much wait them out and let them drive until they stop?
They'll continue to pursue. Many times when the speeds get excessive and the driving gets too erratic and it's too dangerous for the public, the watchman will make a call to have the ground units back off and just trail in the helicopter. We see getting back on the freeway now. Looking through that windshield now, I'm having a difficult time seeing it. I do see at least the driver there. I could not tell if there's anybody in the right front passenger seat. But, they'll continue to pursue until the point that the danger outweighs the level of the crime that they're chasing the suspect for. In this particular instance, I think it's magnified by the fact that they do know that the suspect's armed. But again, the speeds have not been excessive in this instance. We did see a couple of red lights and going around traffic on the wrong side of the road, but nothing too extreme so far.
And Darren, I think your video is a little delayed from ours, but we are watching as this driver has gotten back on the 110, which of course, helps the situation in many ways, because you aren't as concerned about pedestrians and other motorists who are unaware that this is happening. And again, it appears that this driver seems to be slowing down underneath the interchange there. It's hard to make out exactly where. There it is. That looks like a dark red or burgundy colored SUV is back off of the 110 and continues to go. And I'm looking as you were, Darren. I cannot tell if there's anyone else in this car. As you mentioned, the driver's side window is down. You can see some movement by that driver, but because those windows are so dark, it's hard to tell whether or not anyone else is in that SUV. Right now we've got a palm tree blocking that image for us, but there he is again. It does appear to be a male driver from this vantage point, but I shouldn't say that too soon. We certainly have had plenty of women who have led police on pursuits, but from this vantage point, it does look like that it may be a male, but again, I cannot tell if anyone else is in the car. And as you were mentioning, it looks like this driver does have something in his hand. Perhaps it is a phone. It looks like he just tossed something out of the window. It almost looked as though it was a wrapper or something that was thrown out of the window there. But again, those windows are just so dark, you can't see if anyone is in the back seat or in the far rear of that SUV, which almost looks like it might be a Denali. I don't want to guess there. I can't quite tell, but certainly a large size SUV, which, you know, Darren, if officers were in fact going to try to do a pit maneuver, I'm guessing this may be a little more difficult because this is a larger SUV.
Well, it is a Yukon. It is more difficult than on a regular passenger car to do a pit, but it is still possible. On that side shot there, it did not look like there was a passenger in the front of the vehicle. You could see when that window was down a little bit that it did not appear to be anybody else in the front seat, but we still don't know about the back seat and what those circumstances are. And of course, you never know. We had the one in Buena Park last week where the car was stolen from a parking lot of a school and there was a young toddler in the back seat.
Yeah.
You never know about these things.
Exactly. You can never jump to any conclusions. This driver was on Southwest 113th. It looks like that he has just turned and now on 113th and Hoover, South Hoover, again, these residential streets, and seems to be following the rules, not going too fast through these streets, which is certainly a welcome sight because people just, you know, have no idea that this large SUV could come barreling through. We just watched as this driver did stop and seems to be slowing down. Hard to say from this vantage point what is slowing that driver down, but
fortunately, he is slowing down because we are in a residential neighborhood now, and you know, we're getting close to that time where kids are going to be getting out of school and parents are going to be walking their children home and everything else. So fortunately, the speeds are not too high in this residential neighborhood.
Which is certainly a good thing. And I have to say, when we were looking through the driver's side window, the driver seemed to be a little nonchalant. I don't know exactly what he was holding, but just seemed as though, you know, he's just out for a cruise right now, and that is actually how it's looking. However, officers are trying to get this driver to stop because he is driving a stolen SUV, and we do know that the driver is in fact armed, and a weapon has been seen. So this is certainly not a good situation, but at least this driver is not speeding through the streets right now.
Yeah, and you never know what is going through the minds of these suspects. We never know what kind of mental health crisis they might be going through or what kind of substances they might be under the influence of. So that always has an impact on the way they behave, the way they react, and how they perform as well. And you just don't know. But, you know, seem to be stopping here and obeying the red lights there. And, again, the speed's not really even below the normal flow of traffic for the last several minutes. So we just don't know what's going on in this driver's mind and what he's thinking. You know, is he familiar with this area? Is he looking for a place that he can bail out of the vehicle and potentially run on foot? We just don't know. But in this circumstance, we do have ground units that are right on his tail, at least 5 of them, as well as the helicopter. So he's got to understand that he's not going to get away. In the best course of action, we just need to go ahead and pull it.
Going through an intersection there. Didn't stop. There was going into a gas station parking lot. Looks like trying to see if this driver is going to actually stop. It appears now that this driver has in fact stopped and is making a run for it, Darren. He's running out of the SUV now onto the street. You see him there in a black hoodie, gray pants, making a run for it down the street. Just saw someone on a bicycle. And it looks like, officers are going to get this driver down now. And of course, we cannot see from this vantage point because of the buildings and where the helicopter is located. But we did see a number of officers run out and another officer running over to that SUV, I guess, to check and make sure no one else is inside that SUV, which indicates that that driver has been taken into custody by those officers, but they want to make sure no one else is in that SUV.
Yeah, I had about a 30-second delay, Amy. It does appear that you do have him in custody, but I did notice a couple of things as you were talking. Prior to him pulling into the gas station, he did throw something out the driver's window. We don't know if that was the gun or what else was in there. The other thing is that right rear window, it appears that there's a blanket that is up, like there could be blocking sunlight for a child in a child seat or something like that. So that's going to be interesting to see what that result is and what else is there, if there's anybody else in that car. But yeah, he did throw something out that window, and then we do have that blanket there as they're clearing the car now.
Yes, and we can't see exactly where that suspect is right now, Darren, because of the angle of the shot that we have from Sky 9. But it does appear that that suspect is in custody. I don't know if he's still on the ground or if they've already been able to put him in one of those cruisers. And perhaps we missed that while we watched as those officers were checking on the SUV to see if there was anyone else inside that SUV. But certainly relief that this pursuit is over, that no one was hurt. There were no accidents and no incidents with that weapon. Darren, Wyatt, we certainly appreciate your time and joining us on this pursuit this afternoon. And we want to thank our viewers for watching an extended edition of KCAL 9 News at noon. Remember, the news continues right now.